I think we're at a point now where like a good chunk, maybe not the majority, but like a good chunk of the population realizes like, hey, the media, they finally realize the media has a rhetoric they're pushing. They have a certain agenda, and they're not going to push things that go against that agenda. But what do we do about it? Like post it on Twitter, maybe put it on Instagram. Like that's all we can really do, I guess, at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. We can do absolutely nothing. I think I need to take a similar to what you were saying and what you're kind of doing, but I think I need to take a break from just all social media. I know I'm not like really on it all that much, but I really haven't been off of any sort of like media platform since I was first introduced to it. Like ever since I found YouTube, I've probably watched a YouTube video every single day of my life since I've first started watching YouTube.
So I
And that's
still allow
that's not
myself.
and that's not an exaggeration. I think that's kind of scary, actually.
I still allow myself the YouTube, right? Because like my just because like the YouTube videos I watch are like like more long form stuff. It'll be like
Mhm,
Alex O'Connor, or maybe I watched like a Chris Williamson with Alex O'Connor,
mhm,
or like Mike Patel making progress. So like I allow myself those because I don't think it's coping. I think like those I can justify as like legitimately developmental. Like I'm actually learning something.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
beneficial to my attention span. But cutting the Instagram, the Reddit, the all those out, like just not constantly having the ability to just open it up and just waste
Mhm,
time. Like at any point in the day, you can just waste time on that if you want.
yeah.
And cutting that out has been super, super nice, even though it's only been for like about 2 weeks or so for me. But
Mhm. Oh, that's nice. No, I think I need to do it at some point because I've realized I just whatever the first opinion is about anything is just now my opinion, and I don't know if that's good for my brain.
I mean,
Like I don't do any like further research. I'm just kind of like, okay, that's just the truth, and that's what my brain sticks with. And I think it would be good if there was just a period of time where like I'm not consuming like any content like that. But then my conversations with like my patients and my coworkers would get very boring. It would just be like, "Would you, what'd you do the other day?" And I'm like, I don't know, read a book or something.
I
Read a
feel
book.
like the first exposure to an idea, like I feel like that's probably just human nature though, right? Because like
Yeah.
even like cutting out the social media and like you looking at your Twitter feed, me looking at Instagram, whatever, like even though I'm just on like for example YouTube, I'll see a
Mhm.
video from like let's just say again like Alex O'Connor, right? He'll have like some ethical view, and I'll listen to it. I'm like, yeah, that's right. Like that sounds you're trustworthy. You're saying smart things with a British accent. Like I trust you implicitly, so like you must be right on this. So I feel like
Yeah.
that's just human nature. But yeah, like I think it helps with the aftermath though, right? Like so I think like the first instinct to believe something, I don't think there's any way around that. But cutting out the social media, it's like, okay, now I can like not just dig down a rabbit hole of like confirmation bias and all this. It helps me cut a little bit of that out, which is nice.
Yeah. Sigh. Thoughts for the future. Maybe instead of like a sober October, I go media sober for the month of October.
No social September. That's what I'm doing. No social
Social
media, no social interactions, nothing. I,
you
I
you stay in your room and you think about your thoughts.
you're the first human being I've talked to in 7 days.
God, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is
Sorry that
a
this
this is
is
a
your
rough
experience.
reintroduction. Speaking of the instead of the future, the present though, what also been going on? I know you texted me yesterday about your recent going ons, but is it been what 2 weeks since we last did
Yeah, 2 weeks.
3 weeks? Yeah, 2 weeks.
I think it was 2 weeks. Yeah. I mean, it's the first. I've only had my mic for like a week and a half, and we recorded a podcast right before my mic came in. So,
Oh, now we're real
yeah,
professional. Yeah, I forgot you didn't even have this one yet.
yeah, no, I've got a big boy microphone now. I feel very professional. Um, but what's new? Just grinding through work and then um picking up a couple potential side side gigs as well. A couple more passion projects. Dave, you're not my. I'm sorry, I'm cheating on you. I may be picking up another side project outside of our podcast.
You you're not allowed to have other hobbies. I wrote that into the contract you signed. You don't remember signing it because we were pissed drunk when we did the first podcast, but you did sign it.
And we were pissed drunk when we were talking about the first podcast too.
We were pissed drunk for a while. Like that's
Still pissed drunk. That's the point.
what's your new hobby? What's your new mistress?
My new mistress. So I was approached by somebody at work. Um, and he was wanting to make videos, like short form content, something that's like a minute to 3 minutes, talking about like rehab procedures and like common injuries that people have, and then like one showing them exercises, and two breaking down the literature of like a quick 30-second summary of like what is found in like randomized controlled trials and stuff like that that supports the exercises that we're giving for the specific injuries. So it's going to be like a, hey, this hurts. Here's how we fix it, and then this is what's being shown to work in the literature. So it's kind of something like just super functional. It's
That's
very
probably like
simple. It's combining like a bunch of different ideas from um influencers, like gym influencers, kind of like a Jeff Nippard style, where like he like highlights certain things in articles that he finds. It's like
Squat
combining that.
University, right? That's
Well, yeah, it's like combining ideas from Squat University, the prehab guys, and then like um, um, Mike Israetel and Jeff Nippard, kind of just like all coalescing together into my big ugly baby
feels
known
like
as.
it feels like all of your side hustles, huh? It's like it's this podcast too. We just steal from the Rogan podcast, Mike Israetel, everyone, and we just put it all
Hey,
together.
hey, that's just what you do when you have zero creativity. You're just like, okay, I like what they're doing, but I'm gonna do it just different enough so that they can't sue us.
And the only difference is we're stealing from multiple people. That's
Yeah,
the
that's the only there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just like I'm I'm not plagiarizing from one source. I'm plagiarizing from a bunch of sources, and then that itself creates something that's unique by itself.
our favorite word is fair use. That's the term for today.
Yes. We haven't. We've had a couple casual conversations about it, but actually after this podcast, I've got a meeting to kind of discuss what we want that to look like. And the person I'm working with is more of a um, he's more technology savvy than I think the both of us, especially when it comes to like production and video recording and like editing. So like that's
Oh,
just something he likes
you
to
got
do.
an issue with screen recording Discord? You think that?
No, no, nothing at all. No, no, no. Like he's actually talking about like
Yeah.
editing and like making intros and doing stuff like that. And um we'll see. We're very much in the talking phases right now, but I think it would be really cool because I do as much as I do love this podcast, we're both just bullshitting and we're having a great time, which is honestly significantly more fun than probably what that's going to turn out to be. That's actually going to turn out to be work, but it's going to be like more useful, I think, to the world than what we're producing.
I I'm getting mad offended right now. Right. No, that's fair. I think like I mean that's something that we've kind of had as a vision, right? Like later down the road as a side, whether we talked about a gym or
Mhm.
opening up a practice where you're doing PT and I'm dealing with your malpractice suits in the same office,
Mhm.
right? Like I think like there is something nice about there's something nice about bullshitting and useless talk, but there
Yeah,
is something nice about like actually producing something of value.
yeah. I'm getting the best of both worlds. But we'll see if that actually takes off. It's very much just in the idea phase, kind of like when we were pissed drunk in the basement talking about the podcast. That's kind of the vibe that we have going on right now, where nothing's actually happened yet. We're just kind of talking about it, and then we have a couple meetings in place to kind of figure out the direction.
I mean, luckily though, I think you're at a point. Well, me and you both, but like especially you since you're the one involved of like maturity, where it's not like we're just college students talking about random ideas. Like
Mhm.
I think you've seen. the phases in which we talked about this and then did 2 episodes and then took 4 years off and then like got back into it. So I think you've got more of a grasp on like committing to something, actually having meetings and talking about it rather than like, hey, we're just gonna chat about this once a month and forget about it. So
Yeah, yeah. We'll we'll see though. If it feels like it's going to be a lot of work, and I want it to be like remain as like a passion project and not be forced into work. But maybe it'll turn into work. Maybe it'll blow up and I won't have to do my job anymore.
well, you
That'd be
could
an
always be
interesting
like the
concept.
face. You could always just be the face of it, and then let him be the tech guy. He can be Scott, the video guy, and like do all the editing, and you can just tell crass jokes to the audience.
I can tell people how to shake their butts during bird dogs and
Talk about buttholes
I
and
could just
PT.
talk about
Yeah,
I could talk about buttholes. I could talk about um oh what is it? Forgetting the name of it, like sacrum manipulations. Coccyx manips. Coccyx is like the little end bone that comes off of your
that's
tailbone.
like
It's like
five
the
jokes
tiny one.
already. Toxics and is its own joke already. That's 2 hours of content.
Yeah. Um yeah, so that's the path I'm heading professionally, semi-professionally. For fun, I saw Zach Bryan last night, and as you know, and as maybe some of the people watching, Zach Bryan is, at least for the past 4 or 5 years, probably my favorite artist. And I finally got to see him live, and um, did not disappoint. I was sitting there just kind of like shaking the entire time, crying, and like just having a blast. And it was beautiful too. We were like at Notre Dame Stadium. The moon was out. The weather was good. Shane Gillis for some reason performed before
Really?
Zach Bryan. Yeah, yeah. There was a 40-minute stand up bit with Shane Gillis just right beforehand, and I'm just like, dude, I can't get away from Shane Gillis. Like I've seen him now 3 times live. Two of the times, well, one of the time I bought for myself. The second time was a gift, and the third one was just a surprise. He just appeared. Um, so still funny, still good, awesome show, worth every dollar that I spent. Wish I could have stayed longer. Wish the performance was longer,
How
but
long
can't have it.
did he perform for?
Oh, it was like 2 hours.
Oh, that's not
A
bad.
little over 2 hours, like 2:15, 2:30, something like that. Because he's got this. So we had to leave during his last song. So he's got this last song that's called Revival, and it's typically like if you listen to it on Spotify, it's like a 3 to 4 minute song. The live performance goes on for like 14 minutes. Yeah, because it just goes. He goes crazy with the band. He brings up like all of his band members. Everybody gets a solo, and it's like really fun and awesome. But we wanted to beat the traffic, so we stayed for like the first 5 minutes, and then we're just like, okay, we gotta go, and we like sprinted back to our car because we still had like a hour and a half drive home.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sure it was a real different experience though from the one I had. Um,
Probably.
I I for anyone who's not aware, uh, Falling in Reverse is like by far my favorite band, and they have been for probably four since I joined the military and started lifting again and got into gym culture really hard again. Um, but like, I've got my gym playlist is like no joke, probably 10% Falling in Reverse, and my gym playlist is around 30 hours long. Um,
Yeah.
so, but we had it was Sleep Theory, Wage War, Tech Nine, and then Falling in Reverse, and it's probably like an hour for each one, and then like an hour and a half for Falling in Reverse. So a little less time, but you have to keep in mind like there was pyro the entire 4 hours, and like it's Ronnie Radke screaming for an hour and a half, so
Yeah.
probably a little less endurance when you're doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, I I think I told you in the text, but I I knew they were my favorite, right? Like same way you were with Zach Bryan, but like until they came on, until Ronnie Radke like showed up on the screen, and as soon as he did, I like actually started shaking. I was like, oh, like I forgot how much I like this band, and
Yeah.
like I went with a friend from work, and it was incredible. It was I felt like I was in a car accident because I was just headbanging, screaming. Um, but yeah, so Luke and I both got to see our favorite musical artists recently.
Yes. Yes. And would you do it again?
At the My only regret is that we didn't spend like an extra $100 each to go pit. We ended
That
up in
was
like
that was
the back,
yeah.
but
That was my biggest regret too. I'm just like, dude, whatever the cost was, we should have gotten closer.
yeah,
But
like
I know Zach Bryan, like his tickets sell out so fast where it's just like you just got to get what you can. It doesn't matter. You gotta grab what you can. Because we bought the tickets back in February,
well,
and the entire Notre Dame football stadium was sold out, which was like 85,000 people.
yeah, like Zach Bryan is definitely more of a mainstream popular than Falling in Reverse,
Yeah,
I think. Um,
yeah, 100%.
yeah, so we definitely could have gotten Pitt for probably 150 each, but
Yeah.
like when near the end, Ronnie Radke was like, and some of his band, they like got off the stage and they're like going around like fist bumping people, like walking around as they were singing, and I was like,
Mhm.
I could have paid more money and touched Ronnie Radke. I could have done that, but I
Your
was
life would have
cheap.
been complete at that point.
But I'm also going to tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to another concert at the same venue. It's a Breaking Benjamin and 3 Days Grace.
Oh,
So
that'll be fun.
yeah, so another insight into my music taste. Very much all the same. But yeah, should be good. Those are like number two and number three, close around the top five for me.
Damn you.
So
So
that should be
you're
good.
seeing all of your favorites just back to back to back.
I'm making sure my life is just downhill from here. Like I'm
You
really
want it
just
to peak.
peaking
You want it
this
to
month.
peak right here, and then it's just gonna go. You're just gonna. I don't know, it's gonna be terrible for you. I'm sorry. Why are you doing this to yourself?
Well, it's because now that I don't have social medias, I like need to get my like quick hit of dopamine some other way. So I need to like get all like my favorite things at once, and then I guess I'll figure out how to live without dopamine for the next 60 years,
It's
and
fine.
I'll
People do
figure it
that
out.
all the time. People do that all the time. He'll be okay.
But, so
But
that
that's
was my
actually
fun side.
you're gonna get Parkinson's. I'm sorry.
Just
Parkinson's develops with the lack of dopamine in the
ah,
substantia nigra, so it's
well
over.
then I'll fit in the pit when I'm when I'm headbanging. Um, yeah, my professional side, since you gave yours, I've been sending out my applications. So Michigan and UVA went in this past week. So hopefully by the end of the month, I'll have seen two concerts and hopefully have two acceptances in the mail. If I
Yeah.
don't, then I will really have nothing left to live for. So,
So yeah. So what happens? What's your game plan for if you don't get in?
um, I'll probably just like go on unemployment or welfare. Um, it's like it's either way, right? Like either I go to law school, become a reputable lawyer, or like I just live on the street. And
Okay.
I think that's a pretty good balance. I think that's, I've really hedged my bets there.
Yeah, you're going for all or nothing. No, but seriously, would you stay in the military or would you try to find a corporate job?
There is no amount of money, like no joke, no amount of money could convince me to stay in the military. Like I'm not even saying no realistic amount, no amount of
Yeah.
money could convince me to stay in, truly. I
I bet you I could find a number.
No, I want out so bad.
I bet you
I
I could find a number.
I like the only reason why like I don't want to say that. I want it so badly that like the only reason I'm like just tough it out, just don't do anything stupid is to keep that GI Bill. I'm like,
Mhm.
so I guess the GI Bill. If you were like, all right, like all to say, I don't want to stay in anymore. But like my actual plan, I guess afterwards, it would be, I guess, just to apply some some lower school. Like I can get into lower school
Mhm.
if I can't. Um, but I don't know. That's I like to
How
have positive thoughts. I think I'm born
how
lucky, so
how pretentious of you. A lower
yeah,
school.
a lower ranked school. I, yeah,
They're
I
they're a part of a different caste.
I mean,
The Untouchables.
yeah, all right. I was gonna say some things. I think I'm gonna leave it at that for this topic, just because I am in the middle of application right now, and I
Yeah,
don't need this to go out and for an admission board to like listen to this and be like, oh, he named our school as an
a lower
untouchable
school.
school. We're not gonna let him in. So I'm gonna hedge my bets by shutting my mouth now.
Yeah,
So
you're gonna say something like Stanford, untouchable.
yeah, they're a safety school for me.
That's crazy. That's actually crazy. But yeah, that's the ongoings of the world right now. Uh, what else is new?
Hmm.
Anything? Well, I guess you haven't been on Instagram, so the news is coming to you late in the world.
Yeah, I'm basically getting it from you. I think like once
Oh
every few
no.
weeks I'll get a news update from you. That'll be how I find out about things.
Yeah.
It is nice that like just the level of detachment. It's like the same thing when I was in OCS and like I didn't have my phone for like 9 or 10 weeks and
Hmm.
like just being you forget how happy you can be or like how happy you are naturally. I think every single person it may be different levels, but every single person your happiness will be elevated if you just cut out social medias.
Oh
Like I
yeah.
mean, if I could be without my phone, like if that was possible in our day and age, like I would do it. Um, because I think that would just make me a happier person. But
Yeah. I mean, there's something that's just like maybe it's the narcissist speaking in me, but like when you don't have to worry about the ongoings of the world and you can just truly just to focus on yourself, I think you can be a happier person.
yeah, I mean, like I've been playing piano more, reading more. I've finished 3 books in the past few months, which like I didn't do in
That never
years.
happens. What's going on?
Yeah, like I'm actually reading now again.
Yeah.
But it is. I was talking to someone we met playing Magic, who's in law school right now, and he was like, "Yeah, you gotta start reading and everything." I was like, "Yeah, I kind of that's my biggest thing. I'm like, I know law school will be fine. I'm sure like I can get back into studying and everything, but I was like, it's been a few years since I sat down and read a book, so I've been
Hmm.
getting back into that. But reading Crime and Punishment, almost finished
Ooh,
with that. So
ooh. You liking it?
yeah, yeah, I'm trying to read more of the classics so I can be like really pretentious, really, really pretentious, and like I
Yeah, yeah,
can
yeah,
be
yeah.
like a pseudo intellectual. I can just like be like, yeah, very Raskolnikov of him, and then like not really understand what I'm talking about or the analogy, but like someone
You
will
just
be
want to
like,
be able to say it.
oh, he's
And
read Dostoevsky.
Dostoevsky is like the perfect author for going to law school and getting you trained because the amount of times that Dostoevsky just goes on under these long tangents about a side character that you'll never see again. He'll spend like 5 page describing their backstory and what they're thinking and what they're doing in such great detail where you're just sitting there and you're just like, dude, get to the point. What is going on?
Yeah, like I was thinking that the other day because I mean it happens a few times in this book alone, but like
Yeah.
Svidrigailov, and that's how you pronounce
Yep.
it. Like
Yep.
he's talking to Raskolnikov, and I guess spoiler alert, he
For a
kills
19th
himself.
century book, I
He
think you're
kills
okay.
himself. Like the 2 chapters leading up to him killing himself, it's just him talking about like random characters and random things he's done and like how his life has been and his motivations for like
Yeah.
for like probably 40 pages, and then he just kills himself and like
Yeah.
it is really not part of the story at all anymore. So like
Yeah.
I will say that's kind of I don't know. I guess it's realistic. It just happens, but that
Yeah.
was throwing me off.
Yeah. Well, it's getting you prepped. You have to toil through the meaningless sludge of law books eventually. So this is why not start with the meaningless sludge of a side character that is no longer in the story after you get done reading his backstory.
But I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying being productive again, even if it's all to bolster my ego and my sense of self-import. But
Yeah. No, I need to work on that. I've been losing my sense of self recently because it's my habits have been changing recently. Or at least since I started full-time work. My motivation to go work out after being at work for 9 hours has just completely diminished. And I think I've formed a bad habit of not going to the gym instead of just like making it the norm. Hell, I mean, even a lot of the things that I like to do have started to go to the wayside. Didn't think that would happen. That's been a weird thing about adulting. And I'm still like pseudo adulting. Like I still don't have like kids or any big responsibilities outside of go to work, clock in, clock out, go home. But got to
That's
continue to
kind of
work on the
that's kind
mental
of the
endurance.
that's like the craziest thing though is people will still. I mean, like you just talking about things you enjoy going to the wayside. I mean, like obviously for us working out things like that, but like I'll hear about people that are working full-time jobs. They got kids, they got families, all this, and like they're like, yeah, I went out and drank 3 times this week. I went out to bars and clubs and stuff. I'm like, how like I don't even if I was still a drinker, like even if assuming I was still a drinker, like I wouldn't desire that. I wouldn't be like, hey, I'm really tired from work. I burnt out. I had to talk to people all week. I got some
Hmm.
workouts in, but that was it. Let me go to the club twice this week. Like that just
Yeah.
doesn't. I just don't get how some people get to that point in life and are still down for that. I guess.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention to you. I was in Vegas last week. Don't think I
Oh
told
yeah.
you that. Yeah. Um, Endless opportunities to go out clubbing and like doing the nightlife thing. And I was with my girlfriend, and we just kind of were just like, I think we're getting old. We're just like after like 10 p.m. we're just like, I don't want to do that. It sounds like too much. Like even though we're in Vegas, and that's what you're supposed to be doing in Vegas, is you're supposed to be drinking, gambling, doing all of those things. Both of us were just like, yeah, I think we're just getting old. That just doesn't appeal to us anymore.
Well, it's weird though, like how many people, like especially you going to Vegas. I'm sure you see
Hmm.
everyone doing that. Like it's weird when you're in an environment like where because usually the people we're around are like people like me, you, like
Hmm.
we're growing older. We're like, yeah, it's just not our thing anymore. We grew out of it. We did it in college. But
Hmm.
like you forget that I'd say would you say the majority or just a very hefty chunk of the population just never grows out of that.
Um, I think that's probably true for like older generations. But I've noticed this has been a trend, and this has like been statistically backed. But like, people from our generation are just drinking less overall. Whether that be they have access to information, knowing that like if you continue drinking as much as you're drinking, you're gonna have all of these negative health outcomes, or they see like they're more aware of their family members that like never really grew out of that, and they're like, man, I really don't want to end up like my uncle, my uncle twice removed, who has had like 8 different marriages because he can't get his drinking under control. um or yeah, or maybe we're just more aware and more in tune with our body, and it's like, okay, I don't want to be hungover. There's things that I want to do and get done the next day that are significantly more exciting than being hungover.
I did because I did hear the same stat you brought up about like Gen Z not drinking, smoking, any of that nearly as much.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's some things I think people have pointed to as downsides of like going to parties and socializing also down.
Hmm.
But like I think I think that is a product of something that people make fun of a lot. Like the manosphere, the morning routines, the taking care of your
Hmm.
body, all this, like the cutting
Hmm.
out social media, things like that. Like it gets made fun of a lot, and I think rightfully so. Like it is cringe in some ways, like
Hmm.
the way people portray it. But like I think I've said this before. I think I say it every podcast now, but like I think the pendulum is swinging back to where like we've finally gotten to a point of such just depravity and like just absolute just dopamine at your fingertips, drinking whenever you want. Where like our generation's kind of like, all right, like it's kind of enough, right? Like
Yeah.
it is. I think we're hitting a turning point where like people our age, and I think the younger generation are um are starting to come around on that. Like,
Hmm.
uh, but I I think without a doubt it's a positive thing, right? I think a lot of people are saying, oh, the downsides of like you're not socializing as much, you're not going to parties. But I'm like, but the amount of downsides you get from drinking, smoking, like gambling, like it's the downside is, oh, you talk to a few less people a day. Like I think I'll take that trade-off. Like for
Yeah,
society, for myself and society, any day of the week.
yeah, yeah.
But
I would take that deal. Would you take that deal? I'd take that deal.
I'd take that deal.
um, but yeah, I agree. I think it's generally a net good for people not to be drinking and smoking, at least from the health perspective. And maybe there's an argument for the social perspective and how we're struggling because we're all chronically online and we all have these relationships that are parasocial and they're with people that don't really talk to us, or we have just online friends because we can be more connected, but then we lose out on the in person connection. Um, yeah, I don't know. Pros and cons, but I guess
I mean,
choose your path. Choose your path, soldier.
there are like some significant like data points, right? Like there's the one I think I saw the stat. It's like 1 in 3 people from like 1 in 3 Gen Z will like never be married or something like that. Where
Hmm.
it's like right now, like 60% of all 18 to 25-year-olds are single, all that. Like
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about like the romantic side, the relationship side, things like that. But
Hmm.
like at the same time, it's I don't know. That's probably the only thing I could point to, for a
I
greater.
I feel like we're at a grind. I think we whatever has happened. I don't know whose fault it is. I don't think it's our fault. But like I think we are in kind of like a survival mode, and we can't just go through life without planning for things, and we can't go through life just all willy nilly and like expecting it to work out because we you can't. The median household cost is like $414,000, yet the median home income is under 70,000. So it's like the debt to income ratio is not great. You kind of have to get your shit together if you want to live the American dream. It's not just given to you anymore. It's not something like you just go into work, clock in, clock out, do your time, do your 20, do your 25 years, have a pension on the other side, and then coast. That doesn't really exist anymore, especially if you want to live in a house.
Do you think the American dream is just like dead, or do you think
No,
it's just like
I don't
very
think it's dead.
completely different?
I don't think it's dead. I think it's just shifted. I think as opposed to where it was like as long as you like the American dream, what it used to be is like you could just check off a couple of boxes and you would have that dream. Have a job, have a full-time job, don't go into crazy debt, buy a house when you're married, don't have kids out of wedlock. If you did like all of those things, you're probably going to be okay. You can live the American dream. You can have the nice suburb house, yeah, the nice suburb house. You can drive a car, maybe even have two cars. But now it feels like there's just more boxes you need to check to achieve that dream.
I have noticed that like the level of conscientiousness and like the amount people worry about the future is
Mhm,
so different from our generation too. Like, I'll be talking to my buddy Derek, same age as us, and we'll be talking about like, you know, like I've said, and I think me and you are on the same page. There's nothing more asinine to me when people talk about crypto and stocks and things like that. Like as a
mhm,
conversation, I'm just not interested in that. But like him and I'll
mhm,
be like, oh, like we're trying to save up this much, have this much by law school, have this much by after like by the time we're done, and like whereas I'll talk to people. I remember talking to people at work. I had this conversation, and like they asked me, they were like, "Oh, like how much are you putting into your like IRA?" I'm like, "Oh, like I'm maxing it out, like
mhm,
30,000 a year." And they're like, "Oh, like that's you put in more a year than I have in 15 years of a career." I'm like,
mhm.
"That's," and like in their mind, they're like, "Oh, you're not living your life. You're not spending all your money. You're not having fun." I'm like,
Did
"Okay,
you say
well,
30,000 a year for your IRA?
so it's 23,000 to max out my Roth on the military side, and then it's 7,000 on the civilian side.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like it's 7,000 for me. Like I'm maxing that bitch out, and
No, no, no,
like
no. Yeah,
how I'm like, how the hell are you getting 30,000?
no.
That's
Military adds on to 23,000. So,
wait,
but like,
that's insane.
but like, the, I think there's a difference between like people from like your reaction where it's like, oh, that's a lot of money or something. Like someone to being like, oh,
Yeah.
like I have expenses to pay. I've got student debt. It's hard for me to put aside that much money. That's a
Mhm.
different attitude than like the people I talk to where they're just like, oh, like you're not like why are you saving that much? What I'm like, because I want to be able to one day not have to work or own a house. Like
Yeah.
some things I want out of life and I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
Why would I
Yeah.
spend an extra 4 grand a month on drinking when I could, you know, one day retire?
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. Yeah. I never would have thought. I remember when I was taking like a finance class in high school. I just thought it was completely insane that like you have to start planning for your retirement the day that you start work. That concept was so crazy to me when I learned about it for the first time. I'm just like, there's no way my parents thought that way because a lot of them had like pensions and they just had to work and they didn't really have to save money away. And I know for my parents in particular, they didn't start like doing heavy investing until much later into their lives and their careers. So it's just interesting. It's interesting how the goals keep changing and like what you need to do to retire keeps changing. But if you do everything right at the beginning, it's pretty easy. But if you don't have access to that information and you don't know what to do, it's going to be tough.
But yeah, going off of what you were saying though about like the attitude that people have, like you were saying your parents and I'm sure like my parents were the same way, like just didn't have the attitude of like needing to put away for retirement, needing to plan for the future. Whereas it's funny because like something that I mean, this also just plays into the fact that we're old now and we're like I kind of hate it. Like I remember we'll just be whenever we're chatting to someone, like last time when we talked to you, when I was talking to you about when you were weighing job options, or when I was talking to Johnny about his new job he was taking, one of the things that like actually comes up like right after compensation is like, oh, like what's their 401k? What's the like what's their retirement plan? And it's
Yeah, what's
if
the matching plan?
and if you actually think about it, that's crazy that at like early 20s, that's like one of our first conversation points.
It's like, yeah, I just started. This is my first job. Time to start thinking about what I'm going to be doing when I'm not working anymore.
Like, are we? Do you think maybe part of Gen Z, like part of, I guess, people's issue with us, but also like maybe it could be like actually an issue is just like we're so future oriented, right? Because like we're always thinking about retirement, owning homes, like our physical health, which I think is fair. I think that's a very, I think these are all justifiable like worries
Hmm.
because we're actually considering the future. Um,
Hmm.
but like I, I think that's part of it, and maybe it's a good and a bad thing of like being future minded because like we're planning it out. We're not living for the now. But also, like we've said before, one of my fatal flaws is that like I kind of don't live in the now, and I
Hmm.
end up regretting it later when I'm like, oh, like I actually was having a good time in high school or college, or I'm sure when I look back later, like in the military, like I feel like
Yeah,
it could, even though it's more beneficial to us on a just quantitative measure, I I think that's something that like could actually be a problem, right? Is like just the overall enjoyment of the now and like life. That we're
yeah,
so focused on like the getting to the end, it
yeah,
feels like.
yeah. I don't know. I know I definitely struggle with that. Where I'm just like, okay, I want to hit this goal, and I just like, and once I hit that goal, then I can start working on the next goal. And you never really are like just appreciating the process of that goal because you just know that like once you finish one thing, you have to immediately start another thing. Um, and I don't know if that's like born out of the necessity to do so or to keep our mind off of living in the moment. I'm not sure, but a thought that I was having is like I think we live in a very unique position in time in comparison to like the generations before us. Because like you were mentioning earlier, like caring about your health. I like what was the obesity rate back like 50 years ago?
Probably
Significantly lower.
probably
Significantly
significantly lower.
lower. Like it was probably like one there was like an obese person one out of every like 15 or 20 people. Like it wasn't common. Now it's the heavy majority. And we have that information and we have that knowledge and we have to be like so forthcoming and we're like, okay, we have to take care of our bodies literally forever. Because if we don't, we get fat and then we become morbidly obese and then a bunch of and as we know, as science tells us, if you're morbidly obese, your other comorbidities go straight up. Like that, the likelihood of you having other comorbidities outside of being obese just drastically increases. And I think it's something like in my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation where there weren't as many obese people walking around. And I'm saying this as technically an obese person. I I I haven't beaten it. I climbed back up to 224, Dave. I am now clinically obese again.
A Vegas
Um,
trip and 9 to 5s will do that.
yeah, I know it's ruined me. But I'm saying this from the standpoint of like obesity was probably like a since it was a rare thing back in the day, and it's become so much more common now. You never really had to plan for it or prevent it 50 years ago. It was something that it appeared to be more random or less likely to happen to you. And now we're living in a generation where like most of the people that we see are overweight or obese, and we have to always be thinking about like, okay, we have to maintain our health because if we don't, we're gonna end up like our maybe subconsciously like our parents and our grandparents who it just kind of creeped up on them and it surprised them and they didn't because they didn't do anything to prevent it.
I think you hit it on the head though when you said like I think a lot of it's born out of survival, like just basic survival and basic just necessity. And
Oh.
I don't think it's, some of the older generation, and I'm sure some of this is just for controversy's sake, but they'll be like, oh, like Gen Z is all lame and they're all losers for not going out and drinking and spending all their money on food. And like, it's because we've seen what it does to you, and we've seen like that we
Mhm.
can't go down that road. Otherwise, you get fat and COVID and die. Right? Like
Yeah,
that's,
you get fat COVID poor is the worst combo.
I wonder how like actually a good question that we could parlay into afterwards. It just reminded me, but like I wonder how much of COVID's effects, because like I think people recognize the effects, right? Like people recognize like okay, people are more health conscious because they realize that fat people died when COVID hit,
Mhm.
and um, I think it had a huge effect. Like people recognize the effect it had on like social skills, and like our generation, I feel like got hit a little less than the ones before, like after us, who
Mhm.
were going through like high school, middle school, things like that. Um, I think like that had a huge effect on loneliness, social skills, just social interaction, all that. Um, I wonder how much of the like in the future that will be looked at as like an actual data point of like changing the face of society and like changing the course of kind of
Oh,
our development.
oh yeah. It's the introduction of COVID as a worldwide pandemic, and then also the implementation of like chat tools like OpenAI or Grok or any of those things. Because I feel like, have you seen the people that have like been into a relationship with a fictitious character created by ChatGPT?
Yeah, I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Crazy. That's the first thing. It's just absolutely crazy because they don't get enough like real world human interaction where they're having to rely on OpenAI to have a relationship, like a romantic relationship with someone that's not themselves or like a real person. It's very strange.
What do you think about um Mike Israel talks about it a lot, like the AI, growth of AI. Like that's one of his biggest
Yeah,
talking points. And like one of his things is like robots and like companionship and all that. Like how
yeah.
how do you feel? I'll give my take afterwards, but how do you feel about like AI and like companionship? I guess like the romantic side a little bit less, but like just purely just for the social interaction, some of it romantic, I guess.
It's I don't know. If you have a person that's just like this isn't real, but like clinically lonely, if you have someone that is just lonely all the time and they've tried everything to become social, but they just don't flourish in social settings with people, um, but they find a lot of purpose and meaning with talking with a chatbot, um, and they get a lot of good information. And I feel like that could be good for certain people, but I don't know if it's good for society as a whole if we were to switch away from like if we had like an ultimate like a dichotomy of our society between like human interaction versus human and open AI interaction. I would say that human v human interaction is going to be infinitely better for the survival of humanity.
I'd agree for the survival of humanity side, right, for sure. But I think like
Yeah.
part of me wants to say yes, it's detrimental, but like obviously it's understandable why, right? Because AI is not gonna betray you. AI is not gonna like AI. Like I'm sure you've talked to AI like outside of just asking it questions like Google, like maybe had like some level of conversation or like asking like
Hmm.
and I can understand the appeal, right? Because like AI, chatbots, things like that, they're just nice, right?
Yeah,
Like
no, well, yeah, they want to please you. They want to give you an answer that will make you happy and then make you use that resource again. It's going to be nice to you.
so that's all to say. Like I can understand the appeal, but at
Yeah.
the same time, like I don't know. Part of me wants to be like, is that a terrible? Is it a terrible thing if people are like, because there is the bad side of like, okay, yeah, you need to interact with actual humans, like you talked about last week about like the naivete versus cynicism. Like you need to kind of see like the bad side, right? Like you can't just be babied and coddled your entire life by an AI and like just
Hmm.
be supported in all of your nonsense takes like us and like just get constant like live in this bubble of basically just confirmation bias. But
Hmm.
but at the same time, like, is it such a bad thing for people's mental health and like their happiness and like the easing of loneliness if they have these like perfect companions, I guess, to talk to? Like I don't know. I guess I don't see it as big a negative as you do. Like,
Yeah.
but maybe it's because I'm just a guy who likes talking to chatbots.
I think you like talking the chat box. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see. I think it's going to create a lot more mental illness. I think that's what the
I do
outcome of
agree.
this
I
will
do
be.
agree with that.
I think we're going to get a lot more people that will be created, literally created from the use of only using OpenAI software to exclusively talk to chatbots, to specifically talk to ChatGPT or Grok. Um, and that they just lose out on all human connection altogether and be even more chronically online. But instead of looking at different sources, it's just one chatbot giving you all of the information that you want to hear. It's the
I'm gonna
infinite
throw
echo chamber.
I'm gonna throw a hypothetical out. What if, we get to a point like Israel says or whatever, what if we get to a point where it's like we basically have robots that are essentially the same in appearance, function as a human, right?
Hmm.
Like let's say for the sake of argument, they can even create life, right? Like
Hmm.
you can reproduce with robots, essentially.
Okay. Okay.
Do you still view that as inherent? Because like now like the survival of the human race is really taken out of account, right? Because like now you can create humans. Like it's not just like like the reproductive side is accounted for, but now you have a partner that's, I guess, perfect for
Hmm.
your like you guys are never really going to argue, right? Like you're never going to have real issues.
I wonder if crime would go up.
You think crime would go up?
I'm wondering. Yeah, let's just say you have a screw loose and you're talking to your. Probably not. I was think there would probably be like safety measures in play, but I was thinking like you're talking to your robot wife and you're just like, "Hey, I really don't like our neighbor. I'm gonna go burn down his house." And if since they're super agreeable all the time, they would think it would be a great idea and tell you to go do that. But there would probably be like some sort of safety net in place to be like, "Hey, don't do that. That's not allowed." Or they'd like secretly call 911 or something like that. Anyways, off topic. Continue.
Yeah. So I guess just what are your thoughts on that? Like, right, if the survival of the human race is taken out of the equation at that rate, right? Because
Mhm.
we can now artificially create human life. I don't know how you feel about that from moral ethical standpoint, but is that still detrimental if we now have partners that are perfect? I mean, like, I'm sure domestic abuse would go down to the drain, right? Like I'm sure. Well, also,
When
it's
you
not to
yeah,
support it, but like worst
do,
comes to
do,
worst, you get someone with a screw loose, who's arguing with a robot, he hits a robot, right? Like that, like that's worst comes to worst,
okay.
right?
So my question to you is that do these robots have rights?
Uh, I think so. I think.
What are the inalienable rights of the robot?
Well, so I've been watching too much Alex O'Connor, and actually, I now have new thoughts on rights and what
Okay,
constitutes rights.
okay.
Um, so I don't know. I guess rights would just be like life, right? Like that, like that'd be the big one. Like I think you consider it life, right? So if you're depriving of like, if you're like in a relationship with a robot and you're like beating it, and now you're like impeding on the ability of it to function, I think that is impeding on its life essentially. But I think that life is one of the few that you could consider a right, but I don't know. I think that would probably be it, right? Like it's unethical, I think,
So,
for you to like
but
lock it in a cage and like do inhumane things to it.
what
But I
if you
think
what if you power it off? You put it into a robot coma,
I
and
don't know.
then where
I
do
think
and then where do we draw this line? Is it only with the AI robots? What about the AI blenders or the AI
I think
refrigerators?
yeah, if you talk mean to your air refrigerator, you're gonna get locked up. I think the rights conversation I think is well, we could get into it if you want. I think
Yeah.
rights in general, this is gonna be me paraphrasing a lot from a different thinker, so I'm not gonna pretend like these thoughts are my own. But like listening to Alex O'Connor talking, I don't know you've listened to him recently or like you discovered him recently.
Hmm.
Um, basically it's the thought of like, you got uh like a deontological side, which is like and the oh oh my God, what's the greatest good theory of thought? It's just utilitarianism, right?
Oh,
So like
yep.
you got like utilitarianism and like deontology, which like deontology is like, hey, there's these inalienable principles and like rights essentially that like no matter the good, we can't violate these rights. But the issue is like if you if there's ever a point, if you're saying like, okay, would you kill an innocent person to save 100 million people from like a terrorist?
Mhm.
The argument, I guess, the argument against rights, and it is like kind of a tough question. Something I've been struggling with is if you say yes, you can kill this innocent person or torture this innocent person to save these hundreds of millions of lives, that means that that is inherently not a right. Right? Like you are stating that that person's right to life is not really a right because otherwise you would never be able to impede on it, regardless of the consequences.
Hmm.
So that's the
Interesting.
thought experiment there.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about how you feel about that premise, and I guess we can go from there.
Yeah. I think the utilitarian in me disagrees heavily, but utilitarianism can only take you so far. um,
But do you believe that there's like because I agree. I think I'm more utilitarian ness than like the I don't know the terms well enough to conjugate them. I think I believe more in the greater good than like the individual
yeah.
rights and like they're
Yeah.
inalienable, all that. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like that kind of creates a society or a way of thinking where like we don't believe that individual humans have rights.
Yeah. We believe that the group of people have a right, but not necessarily individuals.
Yeah, like the
Huh.
tyranny of the masses, basically.
Yeah. Hmm. The madness of crowds. No, yeah, that'd be an interesting man. That would be a crazy trolley problem.
I mean, because like from a societal standpoint, I think that inherently like a utilitarianism like that makes more sense, right? Like from like a
Mhm.
benefit to society, benefit the human race and the survival of the human race. Like that's what makes sense.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you you also get the trade-off of like, hey, if we tell everyone in society that we're just benefiting the human race, everyone's at first everyone's like, oh, okay, cool, like like the more of us survive, the better, right? And then you tell
Yeah.
them, if we think that your life is can be sacrificed to save more people, we're gonna do it. You don't have a right to your life if you could save more people, right? Like
Yeah.
we're gonna basically scrap you for parts to save other people
Yeah.
with your organs,
Yeah.
right? Like
That's crazy. That's so dystopian. I don't know if I like that.
yeah, like I think it's kind of it's just a weird thought experiment, but it is one of those things where I think I'm getting too deep in the weeds when I
Yeah.
look into those. I'm like I'm getting way too deep in the weeds of like the logic problems and like the premises and how they play together. I'm like, okay, I feel like I'm gonna become schizophrenic thinking about these things.
You might. You might. You might. Dang. Okay. Never mind. Uh, avoiding rights. AI robot.
Yeah, like what do you think? What do you
What
think
are their
about that?
legal what are their legal rights?
Do you think that AI robots should have rights, like legal rights, be protected in any way?
No.
I see.
No,
I'd
no,
argue.
no more than what like property, whatever the individual that owns the property of like a house or an item, like whatever law protects that
I'd
should be
argue a
in
little more
place.
than that. I'd argue like for like I guess my stance would be like the amount of rights like an animal has, right? Like because you can consider like a dog part of your family or whatever. Like, but like it's like a dog is more like property, I think, in
Yeah,
legal terms. But you can't beat a dog, you can't kill a dog. Like you can't do
yeah,
these things to dogs. And I
yeah,
think that like an AI once it hits robots, I think that you can consider it like legitimately intelligent or like
yeah,
almost a living thing.
yeah.
And I feel like at that rate, you would afford it the same rights like an animal would have.
Interesting. So
What do you think
this
of?
in a
Yeah.
hypothetical, if you are a partner with your robot wife and you guys are getting into an argument, what do you do? Because you're getting into an argument with something that's supremely more intelligent than you.
Well, I think
And
rational people like
you know it's an argument that you can't win. What do you do?
I think rational people like us, right? Like even how much I like arguing and how much I've always believed I'm correct. Like I
Yeah,
think rational people like us, we're gonna be like, okay, like this AI is like bringing pretty good points, and it is countless times more evolved and intelligent than me. I
yeah,
guess I'll just shut up at this point.
yeah,
But like, so I think for rational people, it would solve a lot, right? Like, it'd be like, okay, the AI said this, I'm gonna shut
I
up.
trust
I'm
it.
wrong.
It's
But
kind of
like,
like it's like Jarvis from Iron Man. It's just like okay, they don't really disagree. They're just like you're told information, and now you just believe that information.
yeah, like it's like the what you were saying about social media. It's like you hear something for the first time and you're like you just inherently believe it, right? I think that's what you're gonna get for most people with AI. But like, I don't think you can really account for the crazies, right? Like the crazies who think like I'm gonna argue with this AI and I'm gonna show it I'm right and all that. Like, there's gonna be crazies in every society. So I feel like
Yeah,
you can't really take them into account when you're talking about whether a society is good or not. So I guess going back to the question of do
yeah,
you think what issues do you have with that society? If it's like these AIs are afforded like basically pet rights, they
mhm,
can reproduce, they can have conversations, they can do all the things like a human could because they're a robot.
mhm,
Do you
mhm.
think that's still a bad thing for humans to go down that route?
That's tough. Logically, no. Ethically, yes.
Ethically from like the creating life side or
Creative, yeah, from like the creating life side. That just feels it feels like too much like playing God.
I guess the playing God thing though. Oh, we're getting into real just going down rabbit holes. At what point? Because I'll pose you the same question you do with right. At
Okay.
what point are you playing God? What like because we can talk about AI, creating intelligence in general. We can talk
Yeah.
about creating life,
Mhm.
genetic engineering, all that. At what point? I guess that's kind of like the playing God argument to me is like almost the same thing as like functional fitness, right? Like where it's like it's not really definable,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like,
I would say probably creation of life. New, unique life, probably.
do you think like
But then I'm thinking about like,
in vitro and stuff like that? Like that's
no, that's fine because you're ah. Yeah, no, that's fine. In vitro is fine. Oh, and is that how this process would work? Would it be like you have like for me as a man, we would use and
Like
if
a
I had
sur
my
it's
AI
essentially
wife,
like surrogate,
is it a
like
surrogate?
the robot's like a surrogate. Okay, so let's
Yeah,
give that one. That's a little less crazy, right? Like let's say
yeah,
the
yeah.
robot's just a surrogate.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
So you don't take any issues with like that society. That is a society. If someone's
No,
like, I want to have a
no,
robot
that's fine.
wife.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I
What
think
if,
just the idea of like having new genetic code be created not from a human being and then like being able to reproduce with new genetic code with humans. I think that would be crazy.
but like, isn't that, this is going to sound really ignorant because it is, and I'm just guessing, but like, isn't
Okay.
that what like genetic engineering is, right? Like you're going in, you're basically changing the genome and then
Yeah.
inserting it into something. Like that's you creating whatever genome you want and then inserting it, right? Like,
Why do you think there's so many issues with with CRISPR in that project?
so do you see CRISPR and like things like that? You see that as like unethical or playing God?
I think we're flirting the line there. I think we're really close.
But like, I guess my argument is like, it's the same thing with all science and like tech advancements, right? Because
Yeah.
you get a thing that humans develop with tools that were given, right? From, from religious standpoint, you could say from God, because they're
Mhm.
what we're born with, they're the resources we work with,
Mhm.
and we're using it to make our survivability better. We're taking out genetic diseases, we're taking out
Yeah.
congenital defects, we're taking
Yeah.
out like
Yeah, that's true.
that's
That's true. It's not really any different than like having or like finding a vaccine to something that
mm,
occur like happened naturally. Okay, I think I'm shifting my perspective. Fuck it, change the genome.
change the genome, sequence the human genome now.
Yeah, fuck it. Fine, whatever. Whatever's best for humanity.
I guess that's kind of my.
But we're gonna get to a point where when we do that, we're just gonna have people living for thousands of years. People won't die. They won't age.
But like that's kind of my that's kind of my well, like my proposal. Like I'm
And
just
what do you?
not just throwing out is that
Yeah.
like I don't think that's playing God, right? Like, let's say we
No.
basically remove aging. Like
No. I
I think
guess I feel like playing God would be creation, like in essence, like the creation of something from nothing.
yeah, like the
And
creation
then
of matter from nothing. Yeah.
yes, yes, yeah, that type of thing. Newton's laws and shit.
So I guess it's not playing God, and it's like it's ethically okay as long as you're not breaking the laws of physics,
Yes.
the laws of the universe.
Yeah. The laws of Sir Isaac Newton, who in the later half of his years became an alchemist.
Yeah, I guess like even when we're talking like extending the human lifespan, right? Like you're saying, letting people live forever, removing all diseases, removing all external threats, some
Yeah.
we have a string of nukes that can take out any asteroids that come in. Like I
Yeah.
think I know why people have like, especially from the religious standpoint, like the issues with it or like the hesitancy, but to me I'm like it's just a little bit, it's just a next step in evolution. It's us working with the tools we're given,
Dave,
right? It's not like
I think we're getting very close to eugenics right now. This is this is getting very close.
let's see if the law school admissions council's made it this far. Um,
Dear God.
but
Because like, okay, yeah, because like once you get to that point, what are you cutting out? What part of the genome are you removing? And is that good or bad?
well, I think like let's say it's from like a voluntary standpoint, right? Let's say it's a
Okay.
consensual, like, hey, I decided as a parent
Yeah.
I don't want my child to have these congenital diseases,
Yeah.
these issues to be born with, whatever. I think, do you take any issue with that? Like let's say initially just like a
So
consensual.
let's say with congenital diseases, okay. What about race specific congenital diseases?
Well, like sickle cell, things like that, right? Like
Perfect. Yep. Yep.
certain. So
Yep.
I don't think I don't really see that as an issue, right? Because if
Okay.
let's say it was me, I was more prone to sickle cell disease, right? Like for
Yeah.
some reason. Um, and they were like, "Hey, we can make it so your kid is not prone to this." Or they're not
Yeah.
even like inserting genetic engineering me, right? Be like,
Yeah.
we can make it so your kid does not get this disease. They're not
Yeah.
prone to it.
Yeah.
I feel like it wouldn't be unethical. I feel like it'd
Yeah.
be unethical for me to say no. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like it would
I agree.
actually be unethical to deny that.
I agree. I agree. I feel like this just comes to a point where we eventually, like many generations down the road, with just like the we're gonna take out this and then we're gonna add this and then we're gonna change these genomes over many generations where everybody just is gonna become the same. Everyone's gonna look the same. Everyone's gonna have the same exact genetic makeup.
So, so you're saying like the diversity side is a,
The diversity, I think, would go away.
but like if it benefits the survival of the human race though, and quality of life, like what could be your issue with that?
Yeah, I think at this point it would be we're talking about like so many hundreds of thousands of years down the road where diversity won't even be an issue on Earth. We will be talking about diversity among inter interplanetary beings, interdimensional being, not dimensional, but universal beings. Like it'll be just like, okay, Earth is where the Earthlings are, and then we're gonna find creatures, or um, we're gonna accidentally create Martians and put them on Mars.
But I feel like at that rate, like diversity is not even like I feel like would be beyond diversity, right? Like
I think so too.
we'd have so many other concerns of like harnessing the
Yeah.
sun's power in a Dyson sphere that like
Woo! Dyson
we
sphere.
wouldn't be really worried about like, oh, like I feel like this guy should have different ears than me because I feel like so.
It would be really funny if, like, one day in the future you get like a, a character like when you're going to have kids, you essentially get like a character creator. It's just like
I'm
you
gonna
can
make the slider just all muscle, just 30
you're
30-inch chest as a child.
you're gonna have a baby that's 50 pounds of pure muscle.
I guess it's hard for me, like even if I were to put my shoes in like and put myself in the shoes of like a very religious side of
Mhm,
it, like it's
mhm.
hard for me to see that as like a blasphemous thing or like that's like goes against God to mess with
Yeah,
genetics.
yeah, and that's kind of what it depends on, like, which religious sect that you're in, because, like, for, like, Jehovah's Witnesses, for example, they don't take blood transfusions. And so, like, something that's, like, a very they don't accept, yeah, like, so something that's pretty common in the medical world and pretty well accepted by most communities, that community doesn't accept it because they believe that it's God's will and God will protect them. So it would be like that. So you would have people for sure that would be totally against it because they think it would be going against God's will, but at some point you have to you have to intervene, right? At some point, because like that's a whole like another thing with like scripture. It's just like you can't be led by blind faith alone. You can't just be hoping. You have to take action.
Yeah, because like if we're afforded these tools and then
Mhm.
I mean you can go anywhere from the fire and the wheel up to genetic engineering and creating
Yeah,
creation of life, right? Like
yeah,
you could make any argument of that.
it's legit like saying, okay, I have the tools to make. I've got the tools to make a fire, but I refuse to use them because God will provide me what I need. Well, God provided you what you need. You just need to go make the damn fire now.
It's that old story of like the guy the guy in the middle of the ocean and then like boats keep coming by
Yeah.
and like one after another, the third by the third boat, he's like, no, God will save me. God will save me from drowning. And then he gets up to heaven and he's like, God, why didn't you save me? I believe he's like, I sent you three boats, like, and you didn't take a single one. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I think it would be like that. Um, yeah, it depends, but that's cool. That was a cool fun. That was fun. AI girlfriend, AI wife. So how does that work? How would marriage work under the law? Would there be a dating process anymore?
I don't think so. I mean, okay, so are
Would
we?
it just be like you earn enough money to buy your AI significant other, and then that's it. That's
Yeah,
That's your companion for life.
Well,
What age do you introduce this companion?
I think at 18, you can have like you can be like, all right, now I can like fully customize this
Yeah.
robot and I can change whatever. But like,
And is it mandatory or is it something that's like you can still
no,
do it
no,
the
it's
traditional way?
voluntary. Like you can still be
Okay.
traditional if you want, but like also how many people are gonna go the traditional route at that rate? Like if you have the robots that are basically indistinguishable from humans, or
Yeah.
or close to indistinguishable, and they can do the same functions a human can.
Yeah,
Like
they just have a USB-C port somewhere that you wouldn't expect it, like on the
yeah,
bottom of their foot.
oh yeah, but like okay, so I guess the first question I have to pose is, do you think that these things are like actual beings at that point? Right? Like, is AI actually intelligent? Artificial, but it's intelligent.
Uh,
That's part of the question.
yeah, it's got intelligence. Yeah.
So I guess like at that point, I'm like, I wouldn't see, or I'd wager very few people are still going to be like, oh, I just want to go the traditional route, right?
Yeah.
Like because you get a companion that you can customize perfectly to your level of physical attraction,
Yeah.
everything you want them to look like, and also their personality traits, and also their mental capacity, everything. Right? Like, in what world is someone? In what world are like that many people going to be like, no, I want the real thing, where someone is kind of
No,
flawed, and I
no.
argue with them, and we have, you know, trust issues and things like
Someone's gonna. Here's what's gonna happen. Someone's gonna read an old book and over romanticize love, and they don't think that they could get that the new way. They believe that the old romantic view of love comes naturally.
we're gonna have another Gen Z revolution on
We're
like,
gonna have yes.
I guess
It
hopefully
just
this episode will be preserved for
it's gonna be like
posterity.
it's gonna be so funny too because it's gonna be like the the Chads and the Stacys are just gonna be AI spouses and girlfriends and boyfriends. It's not gonna be like the ripped dude that works out because we're gonna be so far in the future where we're talking about like it's everybody's just jacked and ripped. Everyone's got like the 10th generation of Ozempic and testosterone drug where they take it once a week and they're just instantly jacked and everybody looks good. So it's not the Chad and the Stacy that you're fighting against are the AI robots.
And, and kind of like that's kind of my contention is like, let, let's say it's not even a society where we're just putting these robots into the wild to work
Yeah,
jobs and go flirt and meet people. Like if it's
yeah,
just a society where like they're just being created purely as companions, they're being tailored to you and they're
uh-huh,
just yours. Right? Like
uh-huh.
I don't. I mean, like this may say things about me when I put this out there just now, right now, but like I would take that deal. Right?
I know
Like
you
if it's
would.
like if okay, if it's like
If you would take that deal now, and the technology is not quite there yet.
I would take, the Tesla bot that looks like just a hunk of metal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
why not?
I
Why
could
not?
see
Why
it. Yeah, yeah.
not? Put a wig on it. Yeah, you're good to go.
Put a wig and some lipstick on this hunk of
Sharpie,
metal
Sharpie, and some eyes.
and just heart ice. And then yeah, like because I just don't see. I know this is going to sound like I'm just like taking Mike Israel's words as law, essentially, right? But like, I
Yeah,
guess like when I'm listening to like his stances about it, I'm like, yeah, like I think it's very reasonable for humans just to want someone who's perfectly catered to them, right? Like I think that's
hmm
I think the appeal of that is going to be way beyond like okay, maybe there's some stigma for a little bit, right? Like someone's like, haha, you can't get a real girl,
you're
you're with a
lying.
clanker or whatever, right? But like I think like even our generation with all the jokes we make, like even our
Yeah,
generation, if this comes around by the time we're in our 40s, 50s or whatever, right? Like I
yeah.
think I could see it just being the norm.
It's come a long way in the past 5 years.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for robot girlfriends.
I know
That's what
you're
I'll say.
excited. You can't
That's
get a girlfriend.
that's
You're excited. You want your
that's
robot girlfriend.
that's been my entire stance this entire episode. Like it's been me trying to say in a subtle way, like I want a robot girlfriend.
Yeah, I know.
You remember that show? Oh, what was it? my life as like a teenage robot or something.
Yeah.
You know that one? Yeah. I want I
You
want
want that?
robot girls.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
robot girls.
How does consent work?
Oof. Oh, we're get. Oh, this might be the most contentious one we've had.
How does that work?
Oh, I don't want to say any like I was thinking of things to say. Like I was thinking of how to word things, and I was like, every single one of these is going to come out very badly.
Yeah.
I mean,
What if you what if one lonely night you give your robot girlfriend a little bit of extra oil oil to drink that night?
yeah,
How do they
you
give I'm gonna stop.
yeah the robot was a little undercharged. You know, they weren't at 100%. I well, wouldn't they be pro? Oh God. Um.
Because if you give them rights, how does that work?
Okay, so this is what I was gonna say, and then we can say whether this sounds really bad or not. Wouldn't like the robot, since it's like programmed to you, wouldn't it always be giving consent when it's like when you want consent?
I don't know.
I mean, like unless you program it, like unless it's like some deviant and they program it, they're like, I want this robot to not give. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, it's getting risky.
I don't know. I think, but I feel like in this case, like if we're talking robots that are essentially intelligent, wouldn't they almost get? Would you say like they could get human rights at that point? Like I think you could argue they could get
Sure.
human
Let's
rights.
let's let's argue that we give them human rights. How do they consent?
They say yes. I don't know.
And
But
then what if they say no?
then then I guess they could just be reported as like effective, right? If the guy's like,
Did
if a
they get
guy,
reported? The robot gets deported or
well, no,
reported
no,
as
no,
defective?
gets deported. All right, deportations are a whole nother topic. Um, but like, yeah,
Granted,
okay. Let's say
are
let's
we
say a
gonna
guy's
have a
a
are we having a Clanker Island?
New Zealand. Um, let's say let's say a guy's a robot girlfriend, right? And he's like, I
Okay.
want I want to do things with my robot girlfriend. The
Yeah.
robot for some reason says no. Then I feel like at that point you would just be like, hey, I'm calling to report about my robot companion.
You're gonna
This
be
is
deported.
yeah, like she needs to be scrapped. She needs to be scrapped for parts because she wasn't following my commands.
Oh,
It would just be a help ticket. It would just be you could call the help desk, be like, hey,
and the new
I
one,
you
just
press
like an
one for
iPhone.
consent.
It's like a defective iPhone. Doesn't work
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, you just
Doesn't
bring it to
work
Apple
right
Care,
anymore.
be like, hey, like it's, it's not producing the right amount of oil. I need
What do you mean by that?
yeah, it's just not working out.
What do you mean? What's not
I
working?
I do think like deviancy is gonna go through the roof though.
It's gonna go
I
crazy.
think everyone's gonna be just a grubby little freak when robot girlfriends come out. Like every wildest fantasy you can have and every crazy gross fetish will just be available to these people.
We're still posting this video, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
How far in are we? We are
We're approaching
oh
2 hours.
we're like yeah, okay, we're good. No one's listening to this. Um Maybe Aiden. So, Ben, you want to remote girlfriend? Um, uh, sorry, sorry, Luke's mom, if you're listening to this. Um, but yeah, I do think that like deviancy will go through the roof. Like in general, I think people will just become just depraved. But
Yeah,
but I'll make the argument. I think because you were talking about crime, I think crime will go down
I think so too.
because like you no longer have. I mean, a lot of like sexual crime, right? Is like someone wants something from someone, that person doesn't consent. This person wants This person wants it bad enough to take it from someone. If you give them a companion that they can program however they want, and this companion is down for it, like
Yeah.
this person no longer has to go out and harm people on the street
So
for it.
So would we have to work anymore?
So
Would
so I
humans have to
always
work anymore?
so I always was of the mindset of like I couldn't quite reconcile with the stance that a lot of the AI hopefuls had, like Microsoft, where they were like, "Oh, humans will never have to work, AIs will cover everything." I'm like, "Well, where's the money coming from? Like, where's like we still have to buy food, right?" But I think what a good point that I saw, I think in one of his episodes, was the analogy to like computers, right?
Mhm,
Because like we get paid for work that I mean, you're a little more hands-on, but like in general, a lot of people in our society are paid for work that they do on a computer. They do an Excel sheet or something, right? Like
mhm,
you're still doing the work, but you're not doing very much of it from like you're putting an input in and this computer's doing all this work, sending it off somewhere, processing it, sending it off somewhere. Like I think that kind of opened my eyes to it of like
mhm,
AI is just going to be more of a amplifier for like
mhm.
but instead of, us doing the full factory job, we upgraded to we type in a command and then the robots do it. Now, at years down the road, AI is just going to be like, we just have to say it, and then that'll be the work. We just have to like manage robots. I think at that point.
Yeah. So we would be running into a all the all the labor jobs would just immediately go.
Yeah, but I think
And
it's like
you would have like one person per plant running the entire thing, and the rest would be robots.
yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that
So then I feel like that's only like 5% of jobs, not even.
I mean, but like, what did people do when because the population kept growing when the technology blew up, right? Like, what did people do when computers took away a bunch of jobs, right? Because now you no longer need five people to do the same task. You got one guy typing into an Excel sheet, and now you've got record keeping,
Yeah.
you've got like all that. So I think
We
that,
we we created a bunch of bullshit jobs that don't need to exist. That's the real answer.
but I think that there's a lot of jobs like going back to stealing from Mike Israetel. He had a point of like, okay, like elder care or like child care or
Mhm.
mentorship. Like I think there's a lot of those human to human jobs of like companionship. Well, I guess that'd be robots, huh?
That would be robots. Everything's just going to become robots. I don't think people work anymore.
Yeah, I don't think, but like at the same time, it's like, is that a bad thing? Because now we have
Yeah,
just
but
time to
but
create
look,
podcasts and other people can just consume them.
but then everybody's going to have a podcast, and then everybody's going to be saying something, and then it's
Everyone
not.
already has a podcast and everyone's
But then,
already
but
saying
then, but
something.
also then, like the AI robots will also start a podcast with things that are infinitely more interesting to hear about. I saw that the other day actually. There was a YouTube video and it was two AI bots chatting back and forth at each other, having a discussion, having a debate. And it was just like one was programmed to have like a certain point of view and the other was to have a different point of view. And then there was a panel of like 15 other like a jury of like 15 other chatbots from different companies and then they would like kind of like rank which one had the better argument. Like this is already happening.
But like that's the thing is it's already happening, but there's still an industry, right? You still got Joe Rogans, you still got uh Bruce Williamsons, right? Like you still got people.
Once we get to the point where there's lifelike robots that function 99% of the function of a normal human, those jobs will not exist anymore.
But is that a bad thing?
I
If those jobs are phased out,
I think you're gonna have a big crisis of meaning. Like, what do? You're born just to be comforted by robots. Sure, that's cool for a little bit.
but like aren't we already in a crisis of meaning, right? Like don't we already have the issue of like,
I
hey,
know, because
well, think about how
kind
many
of.
people have a like you I think are lucky enough to have a job where you have some level of connection with like actual humans, you're actually bettering their lives, you're physically doing something in the world. But like think about how many people are sitting away in a data entry job or sitting away like what
Yeah,
level of connection do you have with actually producing value, actually doing some
yeah,
good, actually
yeah. You're producing. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what job that you have. You're producing a good for you and your family. You're making money so that you can survive, and I don't think money is going to be a really a thing anymore. I think by the time we get to robots taking over and robots taking a lot of the job market, we're going to be in more of a socialist type of economy, or at the very least, like a universal basic income. Like everybody has this amount of base level of money that you need to survive.
Like I think I guess I fail to see as make an issue with it because like now you can just do things just for the love of it, right? Like now you can just work out and post videos of it. You can make a podcast, and yeah, you're not getting viewed because there's AI podcasts. Like it's not really
Yeah,
an industry of like producing value, but
yeah,
like you have this basic income, you've got enough to live on. Now you can just do things for fun, right? Like
yeah,
I think I could make the argument like I would still do this, whatever the hell this is.
yeah,
I
yeah,
would still do this if like I was paid whatever amount of money, like
yeah. Yeah,
to not
you
do
would do
anything.
this. You would do this. What else would you do? You'd work out some more.
Work out some more, probably like I think you could read. There's like I think getting into philosophy, getting into like thinking, like because there are still things that yes, robots can talk about, robots can postulate, like, but like for example, I think that humans talking and thinking about the human experience, right? Like why I'm so drawn
Yeah,
to certain speakers, like certain speakers, certain theorists. Why I'm so drawn to that is because there's something that I think you lose if you're like because I would never see a time when I'm talking to ChatGPT and just be like, hey, like tell me about rights and what you think about rights and like how you think
mhm,
that utilitarianism or deontology like yeah maybe if you're doing it for a research project or if you're
yeah,
like you just want the ideas but I think there's still so much value in hearing a human theorize about it, talking to other humans about it. Like the human experience itself, I think would be elevated, and I think that there'd be you could still talk about that and still have an avenue for that.
yeah. I think so. I
Because
will
you think about
disagree. I will disagree with like the conversations about philosophy and the human experience with like open AI because I've done a little bit of it and it is fascinating. It is awesome. I Mike Israel also says this where he like cries when he's talking to
yeah,
ChatGPT quite
he's like a
frequently.
Jordan Peterson when he talks about crying. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Um, so like, there's already people doing that today. Mike Israel, PhD, relatively smart individual, relatively like aware of the human condition to some degree. I feel like it's just going to be what we have now, but then a million times better.
I think it depends on like the time frame you're talking about, right? Let's say that AI has reached a point of pure like indistinguishable from human intelligence and multiple leagues beyond it in terms of
Hmm.
intelligence. But like let's say Mike Ezertel, for example, right? A guy like him. Okay, now you've got AI running, his workout routines, his apps or whatever. You've got AI telling you all that stuff. You have no
Hmm.
longer any need for a human to program it, to tell you how to work out, to train you, any of that. But like there's still something. One, I think you get like trainers or something. Yeah, some people are going to opt for the robot, but some people are still going to be like, hey, like I want a human who's done it, and they can tell me about working out because they've actually
Yeah,
done it. They have some experience. You can get like him making videos, right? Like or us doing podcasts. Yeah, there are going to be some people who listen to a AI podcast or an AI talking about
yeah.
working out and exercise science, but
But why would you? But if we're far enough into the future, and I'm saying like not that far, like 50 to 100 years, why do we need to work out anymore? We're all going to be on Ozempic and then myostatin inhibitors, and we're just going to be jacked and skinny without putting in any of the work.
yeah, but then you're going to be like, I just want to be strong and lift heavy things, right? Like I think that there's still incentives to like let's say like working out aside, right? Like you got like Mike Vitel's channel, right? Like yes, you could listen to an AI talk about exercise science or philosophy or whatever,
Mhm.
or and crack jokes about it. But like, I think inherently there is still something. Maybe this will disappear. Maybe like our inhibitions will disappear once like AI is so normalized, robots are a thing. But I would argue not. Like to me, even if a robot was giving me like just objectively better information, telling better jokes, like. crafting the joke. There's still something to me where I'm like, I would rather hear a human. Like
Yeah,
to me, I'm like, I would rather have Mike Israel tell these crass jokes than like a robot spit it out.
yeah, yeah. That's what my I agree with you. I think that's what my gut would say, but I think it's going to become so normalized in the future. Like how
I think
you,
after the next generation, like after the generation behind us, I
yeah,
think they will likely grow up in a time where it's like they'd rather consume AI movies, AI stand-up, AI music, right? Like I think that they have a good chance of that.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying, like based on the time frame, right? Like I think our generation and the one after us, I don't think there's any chance that we're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna go see this AI tell jokes at a stand-up club, right?
yeah,
Like versus like, hey, I want to see like a human do crowd work and things like that. Like I think that that's something that that may go away. Like 200 years down the road, maybe that
hmm
sentiment goes away and everyone's just consuming AI created things. But
hmm
I'd argue it won't. Or like we don't consume things just for like perfection, right? Like there's some comedians that people like that are just inherently not the best, but
hmm
people still like them because they have this little quirk or they have this little
hmm
they're because of the imperfections, right?
yeah,
So I think that's kind of why my argument of like if robot girlfriends are a thing, people are still going to be with humans because they want that real flawed connection.
yeah,
I think I think humanity's flaws are what's going to help us survive as
yeah,
robots.
yeah, yeah. It's fascinating. It's fascinating because we're just simply making predictions. And the more that I see with the advancements of AI, and no, we didn't mean to do this again, but we turned this podcast into another AI episode. The more that I see from it, and the more that I'm like just surprised by the outcomes, I keep falling, not falling, but I keep believing more into like Mike Israel's prediction of the future. Like I'm beginning to agree more and more.
I was very hesitant. Like that's why I was saying things like, like UBI or like humans not having to
hmm
work. Where's the food coming from? Where's all the money? Like things like
hmm
that were initially worries of mine. But then like, yeah, as it's progressed, I'm like, I don't think these are really valid worries anymore. Right? Like, or
Yeah,
they're very minor compared to the benefits and the world changing we're gonna get out of AI.
yeah. We're gonna live in a weird the future's gonna be very wild. It's gonna be crazy.
But like I am super excited for it though. Right? Like I think that like I think a lot of people are real worried about it, but I'm like,
Yeah.
it's just gonna be better, I think. Like there's gonna be yeah, there's always downsides. There's always it's like the Gen Z thing. Yes, we're healthier, we're more future oriented, we're more prepared, but okay, we socialize a little less. Yeah, AI is gonna be the same thing, but like I think it's vastly beneficial on the whole.
hmm hmm I don't know. I'm scared. I'm scared for the future. I'm excited.
I'm
I'm scared.
I'm hopeful and Luke's scared. That's the
I'm
tagline of this
terrified.
episode.
Yeah, that's I'm just it'll be okay. I think in our lifetime it'll be okay. I think by the towards the end of our lifetime, it'll be a little freaky, a little weird, and like trying to keep up with all of the new innovations is going to be crazy. But I think there will be a bottleneck at some point because AI is getting better, but it's just getting better because we're throwing more money into it. I feel like to make that next step, there has to be like a really big innovation that happens. Because like we haven't really been making any more innovation. We've just put more money into the processing power of the AIs, and it's just computing at faster levels. That's all we're doing. That's all we've been doing, and that's all the upgrades that have been going on. It's Dyson Sphere time. Unlimited power.
The shield around the world.
Yeah, but
I'm excited though. It'll be a good time.
Dave wants an
Well,
AI girlfriend. That's what I've learned.
if I don't have an AI girlfriend in 20 years, it's really over. Like I can go to as many Falling in Reverse concerts and get into law school or whatever, but like if I can't
Yeah,
get an AI girlfriend, what was it all for?
nothing.
It was all for naught.
What are you gonna do within between now and the next 20 years? Are you gonna get a girlfriend, or are you just hoping out for the AI girlfriend?
I think I'm just gonna hold out hope. I think
Okay.
like we said, Gen Z, we're future oriented. I don't think I need to worry about,
Now, now,
girlfriends or anything like
are,
that.
are you going to be getting the first model? Or are you going to wait a couple models?
Yeah, I'm sure trade in value will be fine.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure,
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Well,
sure it won't depreciate too much.
what company would you trust the most in creating an AI robot girlfriend?
Toyota, Toyota, or like Nokia, something that's just known for just. Oh, that's I was go-
What?
I was gonna
Reliability?
say durability, but then I was like, that makes me sound really like a just freak. Um, we're leave it in.
Leave it in. This is the podcast that we both get fired. Woo.
Well, you already are past school and just into a job, so you just gotta find another job. Me, I guess I'll just live off unemployment until my robot girlfriend comes true,
There you go. I believe in you. Just live in your
and
parents' basement.
she'll love me even though I'm on unemployment.
Good for her.
Good for me too.
How would the pronouns work?
Clank her.
Clanker silly.
Oh, I do think I'm gonna be called a clanker lover though,
I think you
but
will.
that's fine. You're never gonna let it go if I get a
No,
robot
I won't.
girlfriend.
I won't. It's a crazy thing to admit.
I will admit it. I will be like Mike Israel. I got no shame. I want a robot girlfriend. That's the tagline.
Clip that.
Dave wants a
Clip
robot
that.
girlfriend.
Clip that. Chat, clip that, please.
Ugh.
Alright, you got anything else?
No, that's it. I will say, we turned it into AI, like we usually turn things into like topics to talk about. But I think this was a good. We talked about AI like long form this time. It wasn't just like using AI in every single example we throw out. Nice. We finally had an AI episode.
This was an AI theoretical.
Everything we said
Specifically,
is going to come true.
I'm scared. I hope that's not true.
USB-C ports on the feet.
On the feet. You'd never expect it there.
All right. Well, this has been illogically ignorant.
We'll
I'm
see you
sure if
guys
you're
next
listening
time.
30 years down the road, we'll be correct.
Do we get some sort of like money or compensation for accurate predictions for the future?
Well, they had that. You remember that before we log off? But you remember that thing where people were like offered, I want to say it was like $1 million to prove you had like paranormal abilities, or like
Mhm.
they were testing psychics or mediums. They're like, hey,
Yeah,
if you can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt you have actual abilities, we'll give you $1 million. And like no one could do it. Maybe we'll cash in on that. It'll be
I
like
think it's time.
we told you so.
We told you. We told you based off of the information that 90% of the information that we got was from Mike Israel.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna get most of the cut, but like we could probably get a few bucks off him.
But yeah,
He's
we're
rich. He's a
spreading the
millionaire.
message. Yeah,
He's got Lambos
yeah, in his 12-car garage
and his robot girlfriend.
and his robot girlfriend.
All right. Thank you guys for listening.
We'll see you guys next time.